Hey everybody, we are here today with very accomplished, multiple grade one winning, however you want to describe him, Drayden Van Dyke from the West Coast today. Drayden, thank you so much for being on with us, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we've got a massive weekend this weekend. Obviously, racing started back in Cali recently, and today we just kind of want to have a conversation about some of that stuff, but also about you and understanding more about who is Drayden, what makes him differently, and how do you take those things to the track day in and day out. And the first question that I got to know, you know me, I'm an Arkansas dude, so I used to play Lake Hamilton in football, where I know that you're familiar with, right? And the question has never been asked, and it's always been debated within my group chat. When somebody says, "Where are you from, Drayden?" What do you answer? Where is Drayden from?
Well, there's two parts from it that I say. I say I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but I grew up in Hot Springs, Arkansas. So that's what I tell them. So
I won. People owe me money based off that. Just so you know, people owe me money for that. So
they
that's
call
good. And
they
growing
call
up in Hot Springs, I mean, was it just
me Kentucky bred, Arkansas raised. Yeah.
that's good? That's good, man. Growing up in Hot Springs, I mean, was it the combination of those two things that made you want to ride? Like, what sparked your interest in wanting to be a jockey?
Yeah, it was that and my size. And my dad worked with the horse racing industry. So started visiting. I live with my mom in Arkansas, and I'd go visit my dad during the summertime when I was around maybe 11, 12, and just fell in love with the horses from then on. So
So this weekend, you've got you got a awesome day tomorrow, and you've got quite a few mounts, but 5 of them are in stakes, and you've got everything from old timey knocker Lieutenant Dan to super exciting filly for Bob in the Santa Anita Oaks, as well as obviously Improbable and the big horse in Authentic. Talk us through those. What are you most excited about, and how do you ride? Those are all very different horses, right? You've got somebody that's real quirky like Improbable and an old pro like Lieutenant Dan. What kind of preparation goes into that, and do you look into things differently on a race by race basis?
yeah, so I mean each horse is different, obviously, and you go off based off their style. And I know all of them really, really well. I worked most of them in the morning, and I rode most of them in the races throughout their career. But yeah, so every horse is different. I go off of based on how the race I think is going to set up, and I know how well the horses are doing, and I just need a little racing luck in the afternoon, and hopefully all things connect, and we get the job done.
What does that look like for you from a preparation standpoint? Like how much of being a great rider is the mental and the preparation side versus obviously the physical ability and the skill that comes with it. But do you think that there's more of a cerebral aspect to it? Like, do you think that you could be successful without as much skill as others if you put in work?
Yeah, I mean hard work. People see it, and I think you get more opportunities. If, but it can also be a negative effect if you work too much, and people just see you as they can use you maybe. But yeah, you gotta have the mind part as well. So I mean, it's just quick thinking, just like a good driver compared to a bad driver on the street. Me, when I'm driving, I can see what most people are gonna do before they do it, and I think that makes a good rider. You can predict what a person's gonna do before they do it, and certain riders, their mentalities and what they usually do, and you can just beat them by doing that. But you gotta have both. You gotta work hard and be smart at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that a good definition of working hard and being smart is somebody who you're really familiar with in Mike Smith, and it's pretty well documented that you guys have a really close relationship. Tell me about that. What makes the relationship with Mike so special?
Yeah, I don't know. We hit it off like right away. I met him at Hollywood Park when I was an apprentice. Actually, I was closer with Gary before I was Mike, Gary Stevens, because of my relationship with Tom Proctor. But one day I was riding the Equistizer in the jocks room at Hollywood Park, and I had the lights off, and just practicing in the dark without even looking at the reins and stuff. And Mike came in, he was like, It's like, what the heck are you doing in here with the lights off? I said, I'm practicing with the lights off. He's like, huh. I said, I never thought about that. I'm going to try it myself. I said, yeah, you should try it. And so I don't know. It kind of impressed him. I was doing that. And I don't know. He asked me if I wanted to room with him my first season at Del Mar. Uh, and I said, I would love to. I mean, we split a place with another person. And I don't know, we just became instant friends. And I mean, he's a mentor, he's a role model. He's I would say he's my best friend out here on the West Coast. And I mean, he's like 53 years old, but it don't matter. He's still he's like a 23-year-old kid to me. And man, I don't know. We work out together. He's like a father figure to me. I lost my father a few years ago, and so did he. Mike lost his father, so we got so much in common, and we just I don't know. We like the same things, and we're just best friends. I'm so lucky to call Mike Smith my best friend.
Yeah, man, that's a big one. It's funny as I'm listening to you answer that question, I hear shades of him in that response. You know, there's been so many interviews over the years, and I think that's one of the things to me that's always been so impressive about Mike is how well he articulates his message, and he's he's very genuine to the public, and I could hear that in you as well. I guess it goes into that. He's probably a shoo-in for your favorite rider. But that's one of my questions that I love asking riders that I don't think gets asked enough. And so I'm going to make you pick somebody other than Mike, because Mike's obviously your favorite rider. But who do you idolize, or who, Ricardo Santana Jr. is like the biggest Joel Rosario fanboy in the world. But who do you pick? Who's Drayden's favorite rider?
I got a few. I couldn't even say Mike is my favorite one. Only one. There's a few older riders that don't ride anymore, that like their mentality. So for one, Gary Stevens, he's considered like this mean, like competitive spirit guy. You don't talk to Gary Stevens when he's mad, or because he'll lose it on anybody. But it's just he wants to win so bad, and he's so competitive. But he's also one of the greatest fathers you can have. He's a great family man, and obviously one of the greatest riders of all time. But when the money's down, like Gary and Mike, and I don't see any better two riders than them two. I really look up to them, and the dedication of Laffit Pincay. I met him a few times and got to eat some dinner with him one time. Just the dedication he had, all the spills he had, all the injuries he had, how bad he wanted to keep riding, and eventually an injury made him stop it. He would have kept. He'd probably still keep riding today if he could, and I really look up to that.
You mentioned Gary and how competitive he is, and I love that. You seem to be a competitor too, and it's also, I'm learning, you seem to be cut from a different cloth, kind of a throwback. You talk about throwback horses a lot. I recently had a conversation with Nick Zito, who talked about throwback horses, and you seem maybe like a throwback rider with some of your favorite things and your mentality. Honing in on that competitive nature, it's very well documented and well known now with XBTV and all the access that we have to videos and workouts and all of the things behind the scenes that you have been and are currently a really big part of a lot of really, really, really famous hype horses, right? But
Yeah.
those mounts aren't always Drayden Van Dyke in the afternoon. And I know that there is, you got to wait your turn and all of that stuff in racing. But as a competitor, how do you handle that?
I see it as me working my way up to get to that stature of, say, like a Mike Smith or a Gary Stevens. But I gotta put my work in, and I will get rewarded for it. I see it like that. And you know what? I don't mind working some nice horses in the morning that drag me around there, like 47 and change. And I mean, it kind of puts my name in the spotlight. But I mean, obviously, like McKenzie, I've been working him the last few times, and he runs this Saturday, and Mike gets to ride him. I kind of let Mike know how he's doing and this and that, but I also get to ride Authentic, Marineth, and so it goes both ways. So I just gotta, my name's in the hat, so I'm lucky to be in a position to ride some nice horses.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, and I'm not trying to drag you anywhere that you don't want to go, but you know, like, what would it mean to you to get that mount in the Derby? You know, like what would it mean for you to be on the charlatan, to be on the? I mean, Authentic is in my opinion, he's my pick of the litter anyway, and that was before some of the more recent events. But
Right.
what would it mean to you to have that mount, that big horse mount?
It mean the world to me. I mean, that's what I wake up and work my butt off every day for. Of course, it stings a little bit when you get taken off, but you got to look at it as business, and you can't take it personal. If you take it personal, you're gonna get kicked out the door. I mean, nobody wants people spending these millions of dollars on these horses. They don't want to hear a little Drayden crying about, oh, they took me off. I mean, out of respect, they're the bosses, and I work my butt off, like I said. Of course, I'm really competitive. Say like when I got taken off Justify, that one really hurt. But look, the next day I woke up and I went to work and to find the next Justify, you know. So that's how I take it.
Yeah, that's the way that I'd like to think that I would too, but I also get mad. I would probably punch a wall and stuff. So you're classier than I am about that, and I think that's probably why you drive a Porsche and I drive an Altima, is because that mentality. And I think that you know, you mentioned people. This is off the cusp, and we'll see where it goes. But you mentioned the people that spend millions of dollars, and you and I follow each other on social media. And I saw a while back that there was a post, and I'm always curious about this stance because you and I come from different spectrums of the sport. So you're on the rider side, and I've been born and raised in the owner trainer side of things. So I love being able to talk about the opinion of the riders that risk it all and have a very dangerous job that everybody needs to respect, and people dog riders way too much over $2 wagers and everything in between. But at the same time, the responsibility that comes with a rider for that $1 million investment. How do you walk that line, or do you think that there's a line to walk there between the risk and sacrifice that you make every day versus the investment and the work that goes in on the training side for you to make good on that?
Yeah, I mean it's two different jobs. Obviously, I if I wanted to be an owner, I could probably try to be an owner. But I wanted to be a jockey. I want to put that risk out on the line because the adrenaline. I'm an adrenaline junkie. Uh, I like racing animals that have a mind of their own, and crazy things can happen. And you know what, that side of it is also pretty exhilarating too. I mean, I broke my arm. Uh, I've been knocked out multiple times. I've woken up in a hospital, but to go through that and come back and get back to that fitness level and then win races again, it shows people how bad you want it. And but I mean, it's also a sport too. People are gonna talk trash to you. I mean, you don't think the NBA players, like people in the stands, they get dogged all the time. And social media, I mean, I get nasty messages all the time, like, "Oh, I hope you break your neck. I hope you fall off, this and that." But those are, I mean, I read them, but it don't affect me whatsoever. There's some people with 9 followers that don't matter to me. So uh, I got a pretty level head on my shoulders. Uh, I listen to the people that I know I need to listen to, and the other people, it just goes in here and out over there. So that's how I handle it.
That's good, man. I think that you know, that mentality obviously has come a long way. And this is one of my last questions, or it is my last question for you today. But if you pulled Drayden Van Dyke's stats up today, you would see accomplishments that a lot of people would put as goals, right? That's goals. Multiple grade one winners. You got all of these, you know, you got Breeders' Cup win. You checked a lot of boxes. However, since I've followed you or known about you, it's always been that Drayden Van Dyke is playing the long and the up and coming. But you're really accomplished today. And so I wanted the opportunity to ask and clarify, what is your end goal? What is your number one goal in racing with all of the success that you've had if you're not there yet?
Uh, of course, win that Kentucky Derby. And if I can, multiple. If some people are are lucky enough to win one or multiple ones, but to win a Kentucky Derby, uh, just win leading rider titles. But the main thing for me is, I mean, people see me as an up and coming jockey, or like I haven't got there yet. Good horses take you there and put you on that platform. Without a good horse that gets you there, you're not gonna get the recognition I think that you're gonna get. And look, I've only rode for like 5 years now, 6 years now. The amount of greatest stake races I've won so far, I'm so lucky to have done that. And hopefully my longevity can go 20 years from now. And obviously I want to be leading rider in the country, stuff like that. There's endless amount of goals that a jockey can have, I think, for me anyway. Uh, I mean, look at Mike Smith. He's won how many Breeders' Cups? There's so many records that can be broken, but they're gonna be really hard to break. But hey, I'm up for it. So
That's great. I think that, a spin-off of that is, you mentioned NBA and other sports, and I think that you follow other sports pretty closely. How do you think, obviously it's going to go back to mentality, I'm sure, but do you have like a North Star, or do you have something that pulls you through? It's really hard to be super successful at a very young age and keep your mind on the prize, right? And so if your number one goal is to be Hall of Fame, win Kentucky Derbies, break Mike Smith's records one day, so on and so forth, how do you balance the swagger that a young Drayden Van Dyke has to have be competitive and swim in that ocean, right? How do you balance that swagger and find the difference between cocky and confident, all of those cliches?
uh, it is a fine line. Just having respect for people above you that's been riding a lot longer than you. So like for instance, Gary Stevens got on to me at Del Mar probably about 2 years ago, saying I almost dropped him or cut him off or something, and I made the mistake saying I was nowhere near you, and he popped off at me. Sometimes you gotta bite the bullet, even if you're right. Out of respect of this Hall of Fame jockey, he's just trying to help me, and he might be a little upset at the time. You gotta see that as a young rider, you gotta be aware, and just bite the bullet and out of respect. But uh, yeah, I mean, it's a fine line, but you gotta have, like you say, you gotta be confident. You gotta be a little cocky, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think you'll know if you go overboard, and people go overboard, but uh, you just gotta learn not to go overboard too much, I think.
That's good. And I guess we'll follow up and give the people what they really came for. You've got some the massive mounts that we mentioned for Bob this weekend are the three most notable ones. Improbable, some documented cantankerism that happens at Oaklawn. It seems like every time he goes there, he's a bad boy. But you've also got some really talented 3-year-olds. What do you expect out of any of them, or all of them? And do you think you can win all three?
I think I can win all three. So I'm gonna start with Improbable. Improbable seems like he can run all day long. His works, he always wows in the morning with his works. He's got his antics in the gate. Uh, I think it's worse when he travels. I think he's better at his home court, Santa Anita. So I mean, and I think it's a 6-horse field, I believe, and I'm the 5 hole, so I shouldn't be in there too long. And uh, I think he's primed and ready to go to run a big one. And then Marineth, obviously, you seen what she did at Oaklawn. Uh, I've worked her a couple times too here. Uh, I think she's locked and loaded. I mean, just got to get a good position, and I think she's gonna be on the front end, if not second or third. But I think I'll be on the lead. Just gotta kind of judge the break and see what some other people are gonna do. But and Authentic, really excited about him. We drew the outside post, which is no big deal. I think he's sitting on a monster race. You got Honor AP in there and a couple of other classy horses, but none of these races are easy. Any of these horses can win these races. So I got respect for the other races, but I'm sitting on some really live mounts, and I can't wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to watch it either. Drayden, we're rooting for you. Thank you so much for hopping on today. If you ever need anything from us, you let us know, all right?
For sure. Thank you.